what we classically call it the three tsunamis in real estate, whether it was demonetization or it was RERA or it was GST. So I think that is one regime which has brought in transformation. People who take initiatives, people who step out of their comfort zone, that we are all human beings, and we all get influenced.
What are the different kind of jobs which will keep coming up with this data centers? I mean, if you can talk about that.
There have been times when we have hired people without a major qualification.
Welcome to another impactful episode of CHRO Exchange by Masters Union. Our today's guest, Mr. Mahesh Gera, is the Group CHRO at Rustomjee, a name synonymous with excellence in real estate and construction industry. Mr. Mahesh Gera brings in a lot of experience in business development, corporate HR, and strategy across multiple sectors like telecom, power, FMCG, and industrial goods. In this episode, we'll explore his journey of creating high-performance cultures, driving cross-border growth, and crafting HR strategies that align with organizational and societal goals. So get ready for actionable insights into leadership, learning, and the future of work. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Mahesh Gera, CHRO of the Rustomjee Group, to today's episode of the CHRO Exchange podcast. We are very honored to have you, sir.
Thank you very much, Shikhar. Such a pleasure meeting you today, and I'm very excited.
Thank you, sir. Likewise. So I'll get to the main question first. Real estate industry, the outcome of this industry is very lucrative, right? We look at big buildings, we fantasize with the buildings, we love the outcome. However, the industry is still seen as traditional. So then how are we solving this dilemma at Rustomjee or as a CHRO? What are the different strategies you deploy to attract fresh talent, to attract the best talent in the market?
So I think very aptly put, Shikhar, real estate is a product which touches all of us. There is no one who can say does not experience or use real estate. If you are born, you are on real estate. So if you are living in this world, you are on real estate in some or the other form. So the beauty is that this is one product we are born with, and I think we spend our entire life on. So very close to our hearts, very rightly said. For a long time, yes, the sector was very traditional because it also had shades of running a parallel economy, etc., etc. But I think times have changed since the time the sector has had what we classically call it the three tsunamis in real estate, whether it was demonetization or it was RERA or it was GST. So I think that is one regime which has brought in transformation. And today you see the best of the conglomerates in this business. You will see that it's only those organizations which have the wherewithal of managing a process-driven, customer-centric business, and which is also improvising and showing every day some innovation. Come to think of it, the kind of homes that we see today are amazing. And with every new day, every new year, we see some or the other transformative, disruptive change in the products that we curate. And it's very exciting. So that's the side of the transformation the industry has seen. But come to think of it, the GDP contribution real estate traditionally had is around 7.5%. But where it is headed to, they say it is headed to almost 22% by 2047.
Wow.
Now, these are some statistics which should be very exciting. That essentially means that you are in a sunrise sector, a sector which is growing, and where should the fresh talent be looking up to? Right from our campus days, we always used to insist that you should join a sector which is growing, because only then you can, grow yourself and see the shades of change, see various dimensions of business and how it transforms your life. To that extent, let me also tell you, we've been, I've been here about this my 8th year at Rustomjee, and consciously we have built talent pipelines from campuses including the best of the campuses, going to IIMs, going to the best of the engineering colleges, going to best of the campuses, management schools, graduate schools, and even internships and apprentices. So we focus on the entire talent band. So Shikhar, it's not that the conglomerates or the large organizations had to make big changes, but if you try and understand the DNA of these changes, and if you also relate it to what it used to be before, real estate sector was almost running a parallel economy. Now, what has happened with this is that with bringing in GST, bringing in RERA, which is a huge regulation, such a customer-centric regulation where, it has led to clearance of all fly-by-night operators. It's only people who have the organizing capability, who have the wherewithal in terms of processes, in terms of having their approach to customer centricity and delivery and good quality execution. Those are the ones which can only succeed and survive. So I think these are the times where whether it is demonetization or whether it is RERA or it is GST, all of them have very positively impacted the sector. In fact, there was another revelation in COVID. Most people probably at the start thought that the industry who will buy homes now, whereas that was holding a surprise package. That now there were more demand for bigger homes, quality homes, because now more spaces. People realize the power of value of having a big home, and that was the only place which you could look up to in a from a safety perspective and from quality time perspective and whatever the COVID asked for. So fundamentally, there was no disruption from the point of view of how large conglomerates operate. They largely operate in good processes. They largely operate with customer centricity. They have full stakes in the business and they are not with a short-term intent. So there were hardly any efforts, if I were to say. Yes, all these changes did call for realignment of businesses, realignment of people, thought processes, etc. But I think we could very successfully ease that out. And that was pretty much in the DNA, because that is the biggest mantra we live by, and that is of customer centricity, thoughtfulness in our design, etc. Came in very, very handy. And a trustworthy brand. The trust, the biggest pillar, which stands tall for Rustomjee. I think there was no brainer.
So essentially, what I understood is if you have solid foundation, trust, and a very strong design core principle of how the company operates, I think these policy changes are, inevitable policy changes are easy to solve for. That's what I've understood from the conversation. Very interesting take, sir. Sir, I think I would also want to understand Rustomjee as a brand in Mumbai has emerged as a champion, especially in the luxury and the redevelopment segment. Now, a lot of the people who are listening are very keen in understanding, how do you emerge as a champion, right? What are these different strategy, key differentiators, which help you emerge and rise to the top? And also, how do you sustain it? So your take on that would be very, very helpful.
So I think if you look at it, it comes from our value system. And our values very strongly advocate customer centricity. We are known to be very transparent, very thoughtful in our designs, very customer centric. You will know about our deliveries in the town, and that is what has actually turned out to be in our favor for even redevelopment as a space. I am very happy to tell you that there have been so many such voting events at societies which decide for redevelopment of their society, where Rustomjee has got a massive mandate. So in a very recent, very premium upmarket South Mumbai society, we had 201 votes out of 203. So that speaks volumes for the kind of deliveries that we are known for, the kind of customer centricity that we have, and our transparency and trust. The trust that we have built, our promoters, our directors, when they started in 1996. So that has been the single most focus, and I think that is one cascade which, as a custodian of value system in HR, we are driving in terms of all our team members being aligned to it, even the ones who join us just about 1 week back, or the ones who've been here for 25 years. So that is one practice which is the core at Rustomjee. I think it has stood tall in all times. In the end of it all, nobody wants a deficiency in service or delivery. I think both of these we have built over with a lot of hard work, with a conviction by our promoters, and I think that's a vision which we started with, and I think we've been living till today and will forever be in that space.
Sir, you've often talked about, strong execution capabilities, right? I think 201 and 203 is a testament of how strongly do we deliver, right? My question is, it's a very obvious question I have, right? That there are so many people who keep coming to the organization, so many people who keep leaving the organization, but the values always stay intact, and it's the people who is driving execution, right? Sir, how do we ensure that those core values, right, they stay with anyone who is joining in, going out, and we are on top of, we're always on top of our delivery, our execution capabilities. Like, and what are these values? I mean, if you can maybe quickly touch upon some of these values, so that the listeners also have a strong understanding of what helps Rustomjee stay on top of their business.
Sure. So, Shikhar, I think one of the most important things that we realized early on is alignment of goals. And everyone who joins the organization, because as we are growing, we are hiring all the time, and we are expanding. So with new projects, for every project, you have a lot of new people who are joining you. Their alignment to the Rustomjee way of doing things, Rustomjee philosophy, Rustomjee values is very, very important. So one very fundamental thing we introduced in our not only just the onboarding and the induction process was also to ensure that everyone who joins the organization within the first few weeks or a month or two has a full-fledged induction program, where it's not just a tick mark service, where my chairman, my directors, they all come and speak along with all the senior leaders. All of us speak to the all new joinees in person. We don't just depend on a digital medium. We in person organize it. We try our best that this is not missed. And they're all aligned to the vision of each function, each leader. And they also are shared with stories of success stories from our value system, of how we built, how Rustomjee was built over the years, brick by brick, and how our customers respond to that. What are their feedback to us? How we have kept on growing. One of the important, so since you talked about values, one of the other important values is long-term partnerships. So once you are at Rustomjee, I keep joking with all my new joiners, once you are at Rustomjee, you are here forever. So you will find that most of our, employees are here for long. They have long tenures. Our attrition is one of the least in the industry. So once you're here for long, you definitely see that in practice every day. It gets into your DNA. And at the same time, all the new joinees also, they definitely have that rub off. So when we say long-term delivery, long-term partnerships, we are talking about not only employees, whether it is employees or our customers through our loyalty relationships, or our vendors, suppliers, all the partners in the process. So we believe in that relationship, and I think that helps nurture. So one of the strongest values that we practice, and which has really helped the group over these decades now. And apart from customer centricity, as I said, there are ample stories about customer centricity as to how, as a brand, we respond to various requests, situations, suggestions, etc. And of course, it is transparency, which is at the highest level, because we believe in giving out all the information. So these are some of the values which have really stood the test of time for Rustomjee, and really has helped build a very strong brand. So in Mumbai, we feel very proud when people talk about brand Rustomjee, and I'm sure you would have heard that. And that is what has further obviously helped us in the redevelopment space or in the luxury, uber luxury space. We are, we have been growing in that space with innovation, with thoughtful designs. I think that has been the hallmark.
That's a very interesting answer. I think I love the fact that when you said every leader speaks to every joiner in person, right? And because the times are changing, people are adopting to digital tools, but still, in these changing times, that touch maybe at a lot of places would be missing. And I think having that touch is very, very helpful. That's where even the different layers of the org structure would feel more empowered when the leaders personally in touch connects to them.
Very true. And I must tell you, Shikhar, that there are times when it is, when you're hiring high because you're growing at a fast pace, your hiring is it's a volume hiring sometimes, and then you every month have new joinees, and it gets difficult to get that much of leadership mind and time and space. But we insist and we try, we club them up, but ensure that this happens. And this is an experience we want all the new joiners to get. And I think this is also the fastest way of bringing anybody on board with the philosophy.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Sir, I would now want to dig deep into your personal life. Your experience is culturally diverse. I think you've worked across Middle East, Africa, India. Sir, I mean, if you can talk about any of these leadership lessons you learned in any of these continents for that matter, right? Or any of the regions for that matter, which you found super invaluable, right? I mean, if you can talk about one of those anecdotes, would be really happy to
Sure.
hear it from you.
Sure. So, Shikhar, I think I must tell you, first and the foremost, a stint in Africa was a gift, I believe, handling that continent. And I was heading international business, and it was in between my HR stints. It was very interesting, very engaging. I had the clients with the likes of McKinsey, Coke, Accenture, and at the same time, within the same space, I was also on the board of National Construction Authority Kenya. We were doing a skilling project for them on the lines of Skill India, which I had partnered earlier. And it was such an amazing experience. And I used to travel the most of Africa, in fact, the best of Africa. And I felt one day I was in fact sharing this, since you talked about an anecdote, one of the very interesting things, because we were driving learning solutions from India that could be taken to Africa from the telecom space. And I was doing this one workshop which was very, very interesting. It was a program on business communication and largely had English flavor to it, including the power of how you use English in business spaces. And the beauty of that room was that there were people from 25 nationalities, including a Brit, a Canadian, a Persian, a Zimbabwean, a Zambian, a Kenyan, a Ghanan, a Nigerian. And I had people from Ivory Coast in that room. I had people who were French. And they were, except the only Indian was the one who was delivering this workshop. And I felt very happy. I felt very charged. And I that day felt, I said, whatever be the course, but at least it gave me a high. That I was actually representing Hemsley Fraser of London. I was the lead facilitator, the only lead facilitator for them in Africa at that time. I was with a Bharti Group company, Centum Learning. And it was amazing to get that experience because you felt that, wow, you felt like, okay, we have arrived. As Indians, we have arrived. That's the kind of a feeling. While on a very micro level, but it was very interesting.
Absolutely.
And this could only happen if we could adapt to the cultures wherever, because Africa for many of us looks like a country, whereas it's a continent. It's got it's got almost 56, 57 cultures in it. And you need to understand each one of them. And it was an experience. So understanding that sensitivity was very, very important, very, very powerful. And that was the mantra. I mean, you could not survive in Africa without that. I still remember some of the very interesting stints being a part of top 100 in Africa in Cape Town in a digital AfricaCom kind of an exhibition, or being invited to some very exclusive forums, and at the same time experiencing Africa in the most humble and most modest form. I think that was an experience, and my maximum learning perhaps happened there. It really helped me. It changed a lot in my perspective, because when you take such stints, they throw up challenges, and you learn through them, and it's a personal growth that you bring along. So I think there was a lot which I will forever cherish.
What has been the most transformative phase of your career? I mean, your career is very interesting for anyone to understand, right? So, if you can talk about the most transformative phase, will be very helpful.
So I think all of us get blessed, and we all have very interesting journeys. If you know, sometimes I always, when I meet so many people by virtue of my profession now, and especially in hiring, leadership hiring, we meet people and we understand their journeys. I feel all of us get very diverse journeys. I feel very, very blessed and very excited sometimes to look at what I went through. And so I don't know if you're aware that I'm a mechanical engineer and then I'm MBA in sales and marketing. So for good 15 years, I was in sales and marketing till I got into an operations role and transitioned to corporate training. And that was a transformation for me, because I had never done, while we, all our roles as P&L heads in various senior roles across industry, we do training, we do everything, but I had not done formal bit of training as a corporate trainer. And when that role happened to me, I had a huge team of almost 40 senior trainers, and that gave me an opportunity to lead from the front and transform myself. The best part is that I still can't forget that on day one, one of my deputies came and told me that, Mahesh, I would suggest that you read a book on training, and that was quite stark. I honestly felt that, okay, that essentially means that if I have to drive this team, I'll have to lead from the front. So I took it on myself to get on to the best of the programs, which could give me that opportunity. And I started enjoying it completely. And so one of those programs was very popular, and which was an experiential learning program. And in one such program, the outcomes were so visible that the this became the talk of the town for me in that sense. And one of our CEOs wanted to attend that program, and he came into the next workshop. And after attending day one, he said, Mahesh, I've been listening to you since morning. I think you should be heading our HR. So that's the first time I got into HR, and it was by invitation. So I personally feel that was a validation of sorts, because that was a field I had not got into. And I was always a people's person, so I was very excited. And I think since then, it's been a journey, and enjoyed that HR ops roles, HR TA roles, TM roles, regional roles, circle roles. Finally got into the corporate HR, and thereafter is when I went to Africa. And when I came back, this was the role which I got onto as the group CHRO, and it's been very exciting. So I personally feel it's been transformative for me, very exciting journey, and I've really, really enjoyed this role. I think somewhere resonates with my passion. Somewhere it resonates with what I enjoy and love doing the most. While sales and marketing also were very, very exciting. So I think, especially when I meet, when I go to speak at campuses, I always tell students and the next gen that don't be too fixated, and most of us have gone through that journey, and we were always worried about what is it that we want to choose as a field, etc. So I think journey gets curated over a period of time. You get
Yes.
exposed to various roles. You get when you meet various people, you also start discovering yourself. You start understanding your own self better. And I think that leads to transformation. And I think that has been very good, very interesting. And I loved that phase of my life.
So I think that this is a classic example of a pivot in career, right? I mean, mechanical engineering, sales and marketing, corporate training, group HR. So I have two questions here, right? There's so many people out there in the market who want to pivot but are very scared of pivoting or don't know how to do it, right? While you've answered this question in the previous answer that look, it's a very free flowing journey. It will get curated for you, basis your interest when you start getting into the industry. But I would also want to understand when you pivot, right? And to a role, for example, you move to a group CHRO role, which was absolutely new for you. What should you do? Like, what are those one, two mantras, right? Which can help you settle well and grow quickly in the new role where you have absolute zero experience.
So I think I'll tell you something very interesting. As soon as I got into HR, uh, I was supposed to be in Delhi, and I was sent to corporate headquarters in Mumbai. It was with the Reliance ADAG. I was in DAKC, and so my my circle team was calling up the corporate HR head and asking when is Mahesh joining back. After a week of training, they said, how long will he have to go for training? So he replied very beautifully, and I can never forget that. So my boss then, he called him up and he told him, he said, उनका खून बदली करना पड़ेगा. वो sales और marketing से आए हैं. So I think one of the critical takes, and I always say that while even after HR I went back to Africa and took a role in international BD, for each of these roles, the one thing which you don't need to really get scared, but one thing for you need to for sure commit to yourself is that you are ready for change. You will have to change. You will have to adapt. You will have to do you will have to also put in a lot of hard work every time. It's like you're posing a challenge to yourself. And then if you pose any kind of a challenge, you will have to you will have to give in your best effort, your investment of time, and you will have to sacrifice something else probably. So I think the first part is the commitment. Second part is being ready to adapt and change, being able to accept that it's different. I still get compliments when a lot of people meet me after the meeting. They say, आप HR के नहीं लगते हो, because there is that cliched HR image of people who would be men of few words, people who would talk very little, or people who many a time, in fact, even classical cases, if you look at, employees used to be very scared of going and approaching in HR. But gone are those days. HR is an equal business partner. You have a seat on the table now, and everything, you are an equal partner of the success of business, or whatever you create out of it. So I always tell everybody, don't worry, just go ahead and plunge. There's ample learning available, ample help available, and it's very exciting to learn and change every now and then. I was sharing with you that every now and then you look for reasons to learn something new.
Right.
So I'm now learning German, for example. Deutsch, it's on an app, and it's been my probably a 700 day learning it on a daily basis. So that's become a need for me because my daughter is now married to a German boy. So on the personal front, that change pushed me into learning something new, and I think it's very exciting. And it's engaging, integrating into their culture, understanding them better, and we are one family. So all these changes that happen to you in your life will always ask for that change. It will always demand your time, your learnability, your taking interest in that, and also being able to accept things, and not just stick on to your age-old thoughts and ideas and be very stereotyped about it.
Got it. So I think three essential key takeaways personally for me over here would be first, adapt. Second is accept.
Yes.
And be ready for the challenge.
Absolutely.
And the third is there is no age to learn something new, right?
Sure.
I mean, you're never old to learn something new.
Absolutely.
So I think fantastic takeaways for anyone, who would want to settle down at something at which he or she has no prior experience. So I would also want to get your take on, so there's a lot of myths around HR as a function, right? You have done mechanical engineering, you have done sales and marketing, you have done corporate training, you have done HR. Any myths you would want to break about HR which the market has, or anything you would want to break around that?
So, Shikhar, I won't talk about myths in HR, but I would definitely want to share that one experience which I've seen over the years is that sitting in that room, you see aspirations of different kind. You meet people, employees, they come with different thought processes, different compulsions in life, different ways of handling their situation, different ways of managing their careers, and their personality comes in between. So many a time I have seen that people who take initiatives, people who step out of their comfort zone, people who are conscious about what they want to achieve in life, and people who are focused are the kind of people who definitely make a cut, irrespective of industry, sector, role, level, layer, uh, or ethnicity, gender, all of this. And this is very amazing. And this you see in HR, okay? Because you are in that role that you get to interact with people where people open up. In some forms, the role of HR is actually of a doctor at that point in time, where they open up to you. They have to tell what are they going through and what are their pain areas, and then you try and guide them, coach them, mentor them, help them, or actually just show them the mirror sometimes. That look, if you continue doing, this is what is may affect you. But if you are and there are then people who are over ambitious as well. Sometimes they take wrong calls. There are people who in early days, sometimes they want to jump a job just for very marginal monetary gains, and then they reach out back to me, sorry, we did a mistake, we want to come back, etc. All those things happen. So I personally believe that it's important for everybody to understand that we are all human beings, and we all get influenced, including the leadership.
Correct.
Right? But end of the day, we are all in business, and end of the day, all your skills will matter, including your initiative that helps you develop your confidence levels. You're taking that initiative is very, very important. I mean, it's like, so I still remember that in one of the early days, I had actually done that and jumped the gun once to because there was some issue and I wanted a transfer to a bigger branch, and it was sort of not happening by virtue of certain stumbling blocks, if I were to use. And then I reached out to our CEO directly, and I think within an hour the thing was done. So, not that I'm propagating that you should jump all the all the lines of business and you should be doing that all the time, but be very mindful that there may be times when you may have to take an action, nobody else is doing it for you.
Correct.
So you are the first person who is to make your presence felt. You are the first person who has to share your mind, share your ambitions, share your aspirations, and take action. And also have credentials to be able to do so. You just can't be doing it in thin air. So you build your credentials and then take such steps which will help you grow. And that, I can tell you, every HR will appreciate and help you. HR is not a room to be scared of. HR is not a room to be worried about. HR is equal partner. In fact, I always tell employees that it is as much my responsibility to you as much to all the other stakeholders.
Correct.
So even when they are going out, they are looking for a job change outside, or they have got an offer from outside,
HR still helps
it's
them.
our job to counsel them whether
Yeah.
what is right or not right. There are times when we may say, yeah, it's making a lot of sense, I think you should go ahead. That's fine. It's okay to let go at that time. You can't hold on to someone's plans just like that, just because you don't want them to leave. They will come back. If they're good, they come back. They join us back.
So I think it's one of those roles which takes different form and shape basis the need.
Yeah.
Right? Very multidisciplinary.
Yes.
Sir, I would want to understand now, in the news there is so much talk about Rustomjee is trying to, open data centers, right? So which means with that a lot of jobs will also open up, right? What are the different skills, roles which will open up, and what's the vision around having a data center? What are the different kind of jobs which will keep coming up with this data centers? I mean, if you can talk about that.
So, Shikhar, I'll be a bit candid with you. While we are in the exploratory stage today in terms of exploring those business opportunities, we haven't really gone into the, mapping the skills today. But I can, from my experience, tell you that for anybody to be in data center business, obviously skills which are from a young mindsets point of view, definitely youngsters with technology bent of mind, people in data security, cloud computing, in BD, in terms of networking skills, etc. Those skills will definitely be the functional skills. But what is more important is for anybody to be joining any other sector. What we need to all understand that there are certain generic skills which are very, very essential. And when we go to the campuses, we don't actually look at the functional skills. Functional is an entry filter for you, probably. Yeah, we may look at your CADs and then take a call. Okay, these are filtered out. But once you are filtered, then you are amongst equals. And at that point in time, you look at the attitude of the person, you look at their communication skills, their confidence level, how they come across, how they carry themselves, what are their thoughts, what is there in their mind, what is the kind of energy level the person is carrying, and what is the level of independence the person has generated, etc., etc. So I think those skills become more important for any organization. So I'm sure as we will come closer to the bridge, we will definitely be far more refined in terms of what we are looking for. But for now, I think that's what I personally believe makes sense.
Got it. Sir, when you look back at a career, right, what is the legacy you would have wanted to leave back, right? I mean, you've had a long career, very culturally diverse career, right? I mean, if you can talk about that legacy you wanted to always leave back, or interesting
Sure.
answer.
So I always whenever I talk to people, I always feel that I have a certain uncanny sense of HR practice. And I believe it's a very unconventional HR practice that, or a very disruptive HR practice when it comes to certain decisions that you take. So, give you an example. There have been times when we have hired people without a major qualification. We have hired people who have not had a very long job. We have hired people who were in business for long, and suddenly there's something happened in their personal lives and they had to come back to a job. They did not have a very corporate experience, but we could look at those skills and still make an offer and find them very successful and very happy. This is on one side. The other side I feel is that as a brand, we are very conscious. We are very diversity and equity and inclusion organization. I feel very happy when I recently hired an amputee and we gave him a job. We just gave him a job of probably scanning, but it transformed his life because what you can do to people and influence their lives, give them an opportunity. One of the very important hires I always tell people sometimes is they are not hired necessarily through a CV, or they are hired through an interview call. Sometimes you meet people. I still remember the day I landed in Mumbai for my Rustomjee stint. I'd gone to one of the we had just shifted my we were to set up a home, so I'd gone to buy some furniture at one of the popular brand stores, and the person in sales there was so good that I told her then and there. I said, if God has it, probably we are going to be hiring you. And we did hire her. And she did a brilliant job with us.
Wow.
So you don't need to necessarily go by the rule book when you're looking for talent. There are times when you meet people in very unconventional spaces. We hired someone from a canteen downstairs, which is a popular canteen for so many organizations around. And we were sitting across, sharing a table in a very small restaurant kind of a place we have down, not our canteen, as in the building has a small canteen. And the person was from aviation background. Aviation was going through a tough time, and those skills are very different. Aviation skills are very different.
Correct.
So you had to then cull out what in that person can be milked and transformed for our business. And I think we have now so many people in from aviation background, and they're doing exceedingly well. So I think the one legacy which I would want to leave behind, if that comes to my mind, is that I would want that people should remember me as somebody who was very open, transparent, very fair, and was always wanting to help people make their careers, be it starting them, mid careers, or accomplishing something in their life. I think that will be the most satisfying. And of course, building a great team which carries on your legacy forever will always give you a high.
Truly the qualities of a true leader. I think leading from the front and giving equal opportunity to people irrespective of their backgrounds, right? I think that was a very fantastic take on, leaving your legacy behind. So we are very towards the last leg of the podcast. I think I would want, I would want you to ask, I would want to ask you on if you have to define your leadership philosophy in one line, what would that be?
So I think while thanks for asking that, but I still had one more thought which I wanted to say in what you asked me just before. That while that's the legacy I think of leaving behind, and those are my thoughts. I must also tell you that there's a huge contribution that comes to you. Uh, uh, from your promoters, from the people you work with, because that's the kind of environment they give you.
Yes.
I think you need a certain empowerment. You need a certain environment. You need a uh, certain freedom to be able to explore and be able to take all those ideas. Many of those situations actually you are in a startup mode. Every new practice is practically like you are in a startup mode. Correct. For that. So I think that is the one piece which I thought I had missed out. I would like to add. Coming to your question on my leadership style or thought process in one sentence, I personally believe you should be adaptable to change and learnability that accepts. These are two things which will take you far. I think my personal belief is that if you are adaptable, you will then be able to take initiatives, be able to create a vision, be able to create everything. But in the first place, are you ready to change? Are you adaptable to that situation? And then, of course, how much you have in you to be able to learn and learn at each stage. I think both of them are very crucial elements of leadership to me in my mind.
That's a very insightful take on, how do you become someone so big and stay so humble, right? And I think that's a question for everyone who's listening to this. How willing are you to change, and also how willing are you to accept? And with this, we have come to an end of the podcast. Thank you so much, sir, for the valuable insights and an interesting conversation. Really had the time of my life doing this, and thank you so much once again.
Pleasure. Such a pleasure. Thank you.